concept, and that is that many people would say, well, you Christians think that you have the truth, and therefore it's your job to be obnoxious and in your arrogance impose your truth on other people who are perfectly content with their own truth claims. That whole intolerance thing. Well, first of all, I think it's really important to define tolerance. There's sort of an old definition of intolerance and a new definition of intolerance. I just want to read the old pre-politically correct tolerance definition. This was from one of the old Webster's dictionaries, 1827. Tolerance, from tolerantia or tolero, to bear, the power or capacity of enduring, or the act of enduring. Basically it meant that, let's say my neighbor was of a different faith. Let's say I had a neighbor who was a Hindu, and we differ on our spiritual beliefs. Yet, to have tolerance, in the old definition, meant that I would love him as my neighbor, I would be civil and friendly to him, I would even defend his right to freely believe his different religious beliefs, whatever they may be, and try to be a good neighbor to him. But I would never say that I believed his truth was equally valid and true as my truth, because to suggest that the Hindu belief in millions of deities could be true, that would negate my truth as being true, believing a monotheistic faith, and therefore they can't both be true. And so I would say I differ with him, and I would even hope that he would come to see that what he believes is incorrect, because I believe what I believe is true. That would be the old definition of tolerance. Love him as my neighbor, defend his right to believe as he believes, but not agree with him. The new definition of tolerance incorporates the old, but it has changed some as well. It goes a bit further, and I picked this up on dictionary.com. Part of it says, interest in and concern for ideas, opinions, practices, etc., foreign to one's own. That's cool. But then it says, a liberal, undogmatic viewpoint. In other words, I'm supposed to celebrate the diversity of other views and basically celebrate their diversity and look at them as being equally valid as my truth claims. Now, I have a problem with that. How can I celebrate what I believe will lead to someone else's destruction? Again, using the example of my atheist friends. If I truly, as a Christian, believe my beliefs, then I would then believe that we will stand in judgment before God. Man is destined to die, and after that to face the judgment, the Bible says. And believing that we are eternal beings, and that there is an afterlife, and that what we do here will impact our destination in that afterlife. For me to just pat my atheist friend on the back and say, it's all good, you have your beliefs, I have mine, that's cool, let's celebrate the diversity, I feel would be hatred toward him. If I truly believe that he is headed for some destruction that is unnecessary because God has provided a way for him to spend eternity with me and with God in a paradise, I feel like it would be bordering on hatred for me not to take that risky step of saying, dude, I disagree with you, I have to argue with you a little bit here because I think you're wrong. I love you as a friend, and hopefully we could disagree on a friendly basis, exchange ideas, remain buddies. But I don't want to say I'm celebrating your beliefs. I talk to people all the time that claim to be Christian in this culture. Sometimes on college campuses I'll do little surveys, and often people say, first I ask, do you believe that your faith your faith story is actually true in the fact sense. Generally people say, no, not really. Like, what in the heck? Why believe it if it's not true? Dump it. But secondly, I'll ask, now if you believe your beliefs to be true, would you then of necessity believe that other contradictory faith claims are false? Almost to a person they say no. And I'm thinking, how can you believe, if what you believe is true, then what they believe has to be false. So I feel that, let's be real. This new tolerance, to me, is ridiculous. If I'm believing a lie, if my Christian faith truly is a fairy tale, I do hope that somebody will rescue me from it. I don't want to be living my life with my ladder up against the wrong house. Being a Christian, some people say it's a crutch. I have found my life more difficult in many ways being a Christian than before being a Christian. It's not exactly the politically popular place to live and live out my Christian life. So, coming back to this issue of then does truth exist? I believe it does. Again, to say there is no truth, well, it's a self-refuting statement. Again, if that statement, there is no truth, is to be taken as absolute truth, then it has just refuted itself, because obviously it is an absolute. And secondly, this idea of tolerance. I hope we will consider the two definitions and come to realize that the first one is healthy and the second one is just stupid. And that's a pretty intolerant thing to say. I have a quote that I just have to share here that I think it is really pretty wonderful, by Dorothy Sayers, referring to tolerance. She says, "In the world it is called tolerance, but in hell it is called despair. The sin that believes in nothing, cares for nothing, seeks to know nothing, interferes with nothing, enjoys nothing, hates nothing, finds purpose in nothing, lives for nothing, and remains alive only because there is nothing for which it will die." G.K. Chesterton said, "Tolerance is the virtue of the man without convictions." So, thank you for considering this blurb of a thought about the existence of truth in the spiritual realm, and that it may not be arrogance to differ with somebody and even to argue, hopefully on a friendly basis. Obnoxious people are never fun to be around, but that truth can and does exist in the spiritual realm. What if there really is an enemy of your soul that is hell-bent on keeping you from finding the truth that you desperately need? And what if there is a God who loves you intensely, who knows you, and it is no accident that you're watching this right now, that He's speaking to you? I hope you'll think about it and maybe look up and say, God, if you're there, the God who is there, will you reveal absolute truth to me?